This audiobook is your initiation into the lost art of conscious creation. Your thoughts are magnetic, pulling life toward you with perfect precision. Listen closely. This is the wisdom your soul has waited lifetimes to remember. The Magnetic Mind. Introduction. In the depths of your being lies a power so vast it has shaped civilizations and moved mountains. This power, the sacred art of conscious creation through divine visualization, has been whispered about in temples and taught in secret chambers since time immemorial. Now, as you hold these words in your hands, you stand at the threshold of remembering what your soul has always known. Your mind is not merely a processor of thoughts, it is a magnetic force that draws to you the very fabric of reality itself. Every image you hold within becomes a blueprint for creation. Every emotion you attach to those images becomes the vital force that brings them into being. This is not new knowledge. It is ancient wisdom, rising once again to the surface of consciousness. The great mystics and sages throughout history understood that thought is the seed of all physical form. Just as a mighty oak exists first as a tiny acorn, every manifestation in your life begins as a thought seed in the fertile soil of your mind. Your emotions are the water that nurtures these seeds, determining which will flourish and which will fade. But there is a deeper truth still. The kind of visualization taught in modern times barely scratches the surface of this divine art. True visualization, the sacred practice passed down through generations of initiates, is not a mere mental exercise. It is a communion with the infinite mind that flows through all things. When you learn to see with these inner eyes, you tap into the very same creative force that brings stars into being. This knowledge comes to you now because you are ready to remember. The universe itself has guided these teachings into your hands at precisely the right moment. As you turn these stories, you will recognize truths that have lain dormant within you, waiting for this awakening. Your journey of remembering begins now, not as a student learning something new, but as a soul reclaiming its forgotten power. Part 1. Awakening the Visionary Within. Chapter 1. The Ancient Mirror. In the ancient town of Al-Safra, where sand-worn buildings whispered tales of forgotten wisdom, stood a peculiar mirror. This mirror, bestowed upon the sage Eleanor by a mysterious traveler, held powers beyond ordinary reflection. Those who stood before its weathered glass saw not their physical form, but rather the images that dwelled within their minds, their deepest beliefs made manifest. The mirror showed Eleanor something remarkable. Every person who gazed into it saw a different reality, yet each vision perfectly matched the thoughts they carried within. Through this sacred-looking glass, she understood a universal truth. Your world is but a reflection of your inner sight. You see, the universe operates as a grand mirror, responding not to what you are, but to what you believe yourself to be. Every circumstance you encounter, every relationship you forge, every opportunity that presents itself, these are not random occurrences, but precise reflections of the images you hold within your mind. This is the ancient law of correspondence that sages throughout time have discovered. As within, so without. Your thoughts are not passive observers of reality, they are active creators of it. In each moment, whether you realize it or not, you paint pictures in your mind that the universe faithfully reproduces in the physical world. Most walk through life unconsciously creating their reality, their mental images shaped by habit rather than intention. Yet the power to reshape your existence lies in recognizing this divine connection between thought and manifestation. In the village of Ironheart lived Walter, a skilled blacksmith whose forge had grown cold with disuse. Each morning, he would wake to see only failure in his world: empty streets, silent anvil, and dwindling coins. His mind projected images of scarcity, and so scarcity was what he found. The invisible law worked with perfect precision, bringing to him exactly what he expected to see. But one dawn, something stirred within him. As he kindled his forge, he dared to see something different in the dancing flames. He began to imagine his workshop filled with apprentices, his crafts sought after by merchants from distant lands. At first, these images felt like lies against the empty walls, but he persisted, understanding intuitively what masters have taught for centuries: that vision precedes manifestation. Day by day, his inner vision grew stronger. Soon, a traveling merchant stopped to admire his work. Then came an order from a nobleman. Within months, the once quiet forge rang with the sounds of hammers and voices. What changed was not the world itself, but the images Walter projected into the cosmic mirror. Walter's transformation reveals the power that lies dormant within you. The world you experience is a mirror of your predominant thoughts, faithfully reflecting back the images you hold most firmly in your mind. This is not mysticism, but the operation of universal law, as immutable as gravity, yet infinitely more empowering. Here lies your sacred practice. Each day, stand before a mirror. Look deeply into your own eyes, the windows to your creating soul. Speak aloud the vision you choose to hold for yourself and your world. Let your voice carry the authority of one who knows their power to shape reality. This is not mere affirmation. It is a declaration to the universe of what you now choose to see and be. In this daily ritual, you reclaim your rightful place as a conscious creator in the grand tapestry of existence. Chapter 2. The first image is the seed. In the heart of Kansas, where golden wheat fields stretched endlessly toward the horizon, lived Clara, a young farm girl whose discovery would unveil one of life's most sacred mysteries. Each morning she would venture into her family's fields, carefully selecting seeds for planting. Yet one extraordinary summer, Clara stumbled upon a truth more precious than any harvest. The universe speaks in the language of symbols, and your mind is the fertile soil where all creation begins. Just as Clara discovered, every thought you hold with unwavering faith becomes a seed planted in the cosmic garden of possibility. These seeds, watered by your focused attention and nourished by the warmth of your emotions, grow into the very circumstances of your life. This ancient principle has guided seekers of wisdom since time immemorial, though many have forgotten its power. When you plant a thought in your mind with conscious intent, you initiate a divine process as natural as the growing of wheat from seed. Your focused visualization is the soil preparation, your belief is the planting, and your emotional energy is the water that brings forth life. But take heed, just as a farmer must guard against weeds, you must be vigilant about the thoughts you allow to take root. The garden of your mind requires constant tending, for what you nurture will inevitably flourish. Doubt is the frost that kills the tender shoots of manifestation. Fear is the drought that withers possibility. Worry is the pest that consumes your creations before they can bear fruit. Your task is to tend your mental garden with the same dedication Clara showed to her physical one. Through daily practice, you will learn to cultivate only those thoughts that serve your highest vision. This sacred discipline transforms not only your circumstances, but your very essence. In a distant land, a weary traveler named George received a mysterious gift, a small pouch of seeds from an aging mystic. "These seeds," the mystic whispered, "will become whatever you truly believe they will be." George planted the first seed believing it would grow into a mighty oak, and so it did. The second, he planted thinking of sweet roses, and roses bloomed. With each planting, George witnessed the power of his beliefs made manifest in the soil before him. This tale mirrors the truth of your own creative power. The seeds of your thoughts will grow into the reality you believe they will become. Just as George's seeds responded to his beliefs, your life responds to the visions you hold in your mind. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, cannot help but arrange circumstances to match the garden you've cultivated within. Practice. As the sun rises each morning for the next 7 days, plant one seed of desire in your mind. Speak it as though it already exists. Feel the joy of its completion. See it manifested in perfect detail. Breathe life into it with the conviction of your faith. Then, like a wise farmer who trusts in the natural process of growth, release it to the fertile soil of the universe. Remember, the harvest comes not from anxious watching, but from confidence knowing that what is planted must surely grow. Chapter 3. You are the vessel of the divine idea. In a small village positioned between misty mountains, there lived a midwife named Harriet whose hands carried the ancient wisdom of healing. You see, she possessed a gift far beyond the mere knowledge of herbs and remedies. She received visions, crystal-clear images that would appear in her mind's eye just when needed most. These sacred glimpses came not from effort or strain, but in moments of perfect stillness, when her heart was aligned with her purpose. When you open yourself to the universe's guidance, you become a channel for divine wisdom. Your mind transforms from a mere thinking apparatus into a sacred vessel through which infinite intelligence flows. This is the forgotten art of true visualization, not the forceful construction of mental pictures, but the gentle receiving of divine imagery. The ancients understood this profound truth, that the greatest visions come not from the limited human mind, but from the boundless universal intelligence that speaks through all creation. As Harriet tended to expectant mothers, she learned to trust these inner glimpses. A flash of cool water would guide her to suggest specific herbs, or an image of sunlight would prompt her to recommend more time outdoors. These visions were not her own inventions, but messages from the universal mind, offering precise guidance for each soul in her care. The villagers marveled at her wisdom, not knowing that she merely served as a faithful messenger for the knowledge that already existed in the great cosmic library. You too are receiving such guidance at every moment. The universe speaks through the language of mental images, sending you precisely what you need to know. Your task is not to create these visions, but to clear your mind enough to receive them. Like a still pond reflects the stars above with perfect clarity, your quieted mind becomes the mirror for divine inspiration to reveal itself. In a distant coastal town lived Henry, who spent 30 years behind a banker's desk before the vision came. Night after night he dreamed of a lighthouse, its beam cutting through fog, guiding lost ships to shore. Though it made little worldly sense, the image persisted, calling him toward a new life. Following this divine nudge, Henry left his position and moved to the coast, where he discovered his true purpose as a counselor, guiding others through their darkest nights. His lighthouse was not of stone and mortar, but of wisdom and compassion, yet it saved just as many souls from shipwreck. The visions that appear in your mind are not random imaginings. They are sacred seeds planted by universal intelligence. They come not from your limited personal mind, but from the infinite wisdom that orchestrates the cosmos. When you learn to listen, to receive rather than grasp, you align yourself with the divine flow of creation. This receptive state is your natural birthright, the original way of seeing that children possess before the world teaches them to doubt their inner knowing. Practice. Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Light a candle if you wish, creating an atmosphere of reverence. Close your eyes and breathe deeply, allowing your thoughts to settle like leaves falling gently to earth. When your mind grows still, ask with sincere heart, "What vision wishes to be born through me?" Take pen to paper and write whatever arises, without judgment or editing. Trust that the universe speaks through your willing hand. Do this for 7 consecutive days, and watch how the seeds of divine wisdom begin to sprout and flourish in the garden of your consciousness. Chapter 4: The Invisible Canvas. In a valley where autumn leaves dance eternally with the wind, there lived an artist named Mabel. Her brushes lay untouched for 20 years, gathering dust in a corner of her cottage. Yet within the sanctuary of her mind, masterpieces were taking form, waiting for the moment when consciousness would call them into being. You must understand that creation begins in the unseen realm. Just as a flower exists first in the seed before breaking through soil, every manifestation starts as an image in consciousness. Mabel discovered this truth when she began painting again, not with physical brushes, but with the refined strokes of focused thought. Her inner gallery became more vibrant than any museum wall could display. The invisible realm is where all power dwells. It is the fertile soil from which all visible things emerge. When you learn to paint with intention in your mind's eye, holding each detail with unwavering attention, you activate the creative force that shapes reality. Your imagination is not mere fantasy. It is the brush with which the universe crafts existence. It is the primordial power that has shaped civilizations and transformed the very face of our world. Think of your mind as a sacred canvas, pristine and waiting. Each thought you hold steadily becomes a brushstroke of creation. The clearer your inner vision, the more precise its outer manifestation will be. This is the art of conscious creation, not idle daydreaming, but purposeful imaging with the full force of your creative power. What you focus upon with emotional intensity becomes the blueprint that universal forces use to construct your tomorrow. In a distant land torn by conflict, a young soldier named Franklin understood this principle. While others saw only the chaos of war around them, Franklin would close his eyes each dawn and paint scenes of peace in his mind. He would see children playing in streets that were whole again, gardens blooming where rubble had been. Day after day, he held these images with such clarity that they began to feel more real than the destruction before him. And slowly, mysteriously, the world began to mirror his inner canvas. First in small ways, then in transformations that others called miraculous. You see, Franklin's story teaches us that what we hold in mind with conviction carries more weight than what our physical eyes perceive. The unseen realms hold infinite potential, waiting to be shaped by your focused imagination. This is the forgotten wisdom that the greatest creators throughout history have silently known. Practice. Close your eyes and imagine your ideal day from start to finish, in vivid sensory detail. Feel the emotions, hear the sounds, see the colors, and taste the sweetness of this reality you are creating. Do this daily until the invisible becomes visible. Chapter 5: Unlocking the Gate of Feeling. In a small village where time seemed to flow like silk through gentle fingers, there lived a seamstress named Margaret. Her needle moved in perfect rhythm, each stitch precise and purposeful. Yet few knew that her true artistry lay not in the threads she wove, but in the feeling she poured into her work. You see, the universe responds not merely to your thoughts, but to the vibration of your emotions. Your feelings are the magnetic force that draws experience into form. When Margaret stitched wedding gowns, she infused each motion with the joy of celebration. When she mended torn garments, she channeled the warmth of restoration, and slowly, mysteriously, her life began to mirror these very emotions, abundance flowing to her in the same measure she had given to others. The law of attraction operates through this sacred union of thought and feeling. An image held in mind without emotion is like a lamp without oil. It cannot illuminate your path to manifestation. But when you marry clear vision with authentic feeling, you activate the ancient mechanism of creation that has existed since the dawn of consciousness itself. In another village lived Douglas, a widower who spent years visualizing a new chapter of happiness. Yet his visions remained lifeless until one morning, watching his grandchildren play, he allowed himself to feel joy again. In that moment of emotional surrender, the universe responded. Within months, his life transformed, not because his thoughts had changed, but because he had finally opened his heart to feel what he envisioned. The garden of his life, once barren, began to bloom with unexpected connections and opportunities. Your emotions are not mere responses to life. They are the very substance from which life is shaped. When you visualize your desire, you must step beyond the threshold of thought into the temple of feeling. Let your heart beat with the reality of your vision. Let your body know the truth of it. This is the ancient art of manifestation that has been whispered through generations, passed from master to student since time immemorial. What Margaret discovered through her needle and thread, and what Douglas learned through his grief and joy, now beckons to you. Feel what you wish to create. Let your emotions become the thread that stitches your visions into reality. The masters of old knew this secret. That feeling is the language the universe understands most deeply. Practice. Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Close your eyes and bring forth your deepest desire. Now transcend mere thinking. Feel it as if it is already yours. Let the emotions fill your body for 2 minutes. Feel the gratitude, the joy, the peace of its fulfillment. Notice how your body responds, perhaps with warmth, lightness, or a quickened heartbeat. This is not pretending. It is practicing the ancient art of emotional manifestation, aligning your entire being with that which you seek to create. Chapter 6. The Still Waters Within. In the depths of winter, where pristine snow blankets the earth in hushed reverence, you will find wisdom in the tale of Agnes. Each morning, as dawn's first light touched the frozen lake near her cottage, she walked its shores in perfect silence. The stillness spoke volumes that words could never capture, teaching lessons that only an attentive heart could perceive. You must understand, the greatest visions arise not from endless mental chatter, but from the sacred void of inner quiet. Like Agnes, who discovered that when her mind grew still as the frozen waters, crystal-clear images would surface from the depths of her being. These were not mere thoughts, but pure knowing emerging from the silence. Divine blueprints, untainted by doubt or limitation. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. When you quiet the endless stream of thoughts, you create space for divine imagery to emerge. This is the forgotten art of true visualization, not forcing pictures into your mind, but allowing them to rise naturally from the well of stillness within. It is a remembering of what your soul has always known. Consider Clyde, who carried mail through the bustling city streets. Amid the chaos of traffic and crowds, he discovered an oasis of silence within himself. As he walked his route each day, he learned to maintain this inner quiet. Soon, vivid images began appearing in his mind, glimpses of possibilities that would later manifest in his life. The noise around him faded as his inner vision grew stronger. What others saw as mundane work, Clyde transformed into a sacred practice of manifestation. What Clyde discovered, you too will find, that silence is not empty. It is filled with creative power. When you still have the waters of your mind, the reflection becomes clear. This is how the universe paints its intentions upon the canvas of your consciousness. In this stillness, the language of creation becomes your mother tongue once more. The stillness Agnes found by the frozen lake and Clyde discovered amid city noise exists within you now. It awaits only your recognition. In that sacred quiet, the seeds of manifestation take root. Your role is not to force the vision, but to prepare the soil through silence, to cultivate the garden where miracles naturally bloom. Let these stories remind you that the clearest visions arise not from striving, but from allowing. When you quiet your mind, you open the channel through which divine imagery flows. This is the ancient way of seeing, not with the eyes, but with the still heart. This wisdom has guided mystics and masters through the ages, and now it calls to you. Practice sit in stillness each day for 5 minutes. Breathe and simply see without forcing. Let the image rise. Watch as your inner vision strengthens with each moment of sacred silence. Chapter 7. What you see when your eyes are closed. In a small village positioned among ancient hills, there lived a teacher named Vera, who had never seen the physical world with her eyes. Yet those who studied with her learned to perceive truths that the sighted often missed. Through her gentle guidance, students discovered that their physical eyes could deceive, while the eye of the mind revealed all. You see, the outer world presents itself as absolute truth, demanding your attention and belief. But this visible realm is merely the shadow of a deeper reality, one that exists first in the chamber of imagination. When you close your physical eyes, stepping away from the clamor of appearances, you access the creative force that shapes all manifestation. Your inner sight holds power that your physical eyes cannot grasp. While the world shows you what is, your mind's eye reveals what can be. This is not mere fantasy. It is the sacred art of seeing beyond the veil of current circumstances, touching the formless essence from which all form emerges. Consider Howard, who lived in the poorest quarter of his city. Each night, he would close his eyes and walk through the rooms of a home he did not yet possess. He felt the smooth wooden banister beneath his palm, heard his footsteps echo on hardwood floors, breathed in the scent of fresh flowers by the window. While others saw only his worn clothes and empty pockets, Howard saw with perfect clarity the life that awaited him. He did not merely wish for this home, he claimed it in the realm where all creation begins. Months passed, and Howard's inner vision never wavered. Then one day, as he turned a corner in an unfamiliar neighborhood, he stopped. Before him stood the very house he had walked through countless times in his mind. The realtor's sign had just been planted in the front yard. Within a year, Howard crossed that threshold not as a dreamer, but as the owner. The universe had aligned with his unwavering inner sight. What Howard discovered, you too must learn. The images you hold within eventually become the pictures you see without. Your inner sight is the template for your outer reality. The world will show you thousands of reasons why your vision cannot manifest, but those reasons hold power only if you give them your attention. The ancient masters knew this truth, that your consciousness is the fertile soil in which all manifestation takes root. Practice. Every night, close your eyes and walk through your desired future scene as if living it. Feel every sensation, hear every sound, and breathe the very air of that reality. Do not question how it will come to pass. That is not your concern. Your task is simply to hold the vision with unwavering faith until the outer world reshapes itself to match your inner template. Chapter 8, The Law That Shapes All Things. In the heart of a valley where morning mist clung to ancient pines, Martha taught in a humble schoolhouse. Each morning, as her students filed in through the weathered door, she wrote not just arithmetic and letters on the board, but something far more vital, the invisible principles that governed all of life. With patient hands and knowing eyes, she guided these young souls toward understanding truths that extended far beyond the classroom walls. You hold within you the same power that Martha recognized in her young charges. The law of attraction moves through all things with the same certainty as gravity pulls objects to Earth. It is not a theory to be debated, but a force as real as the air you breathe, as constant as the turning of the seasons. This universal principle has guided the wise throughout countless generations, though it has been called by many names. Just as a magnet draws iron without judgment or hesitation, your thoughts attract their physical equivalents with unwavering precision. This law responds not to your wishes or hopes, but to the images you hold steady in your mind, energized by the current of your emotions. It is the silent architect of your experience, building the framework of your life according to the blueprints you provide through your consistent mental patterns. In a distant city lived Archie, a man who prided himself on his rational mind. When he first encountered these teachings, he scoffed, declaring them mere fantasy. Yet something compelled him to experiment. He began small, visualizing a blue feather crossing his path. Within days, blue feathers appeared in the most unexpected places, floating through his garden, resting on his windowsill, carried by the wind before his feet. Each appearance sent a quiet shiver of recognition through his carefully constructed worldview. Intrigued but not convinced, Archie expanded his tests. He visualized specific encounters, precise conversations, and particular opportunities. One by one, these mental images materialized in his physical world until he could no longer deny the pattern. The law was working not because he believed, but because it simply was. His doubt had no power to negate the law's operation, just as one's disbelief in gravity would not prevent a fall. This truth stands before you now. The law of attraction does not require your faith to function. Like gravity, it operates regardless of your opinion. It simply reflects, with perfect accuracy, the predominant pictures in your mind. Your thoughts are not passive observations. They are creative forces, broadcasting signals that the universe must answer. They are the seeds from which your tomorrow grows. The world you see around you is a mirror of your sustained mental activity. Every circumstance, every relationship, every experience has grown from seeds planted in the soil of your consciousness. This law knows no favorites, holds no grudges, makes no judgments. It simply returns to you the essence of what you have impressed upon it through your consistent thoughts and feelings. In this divine reflection lies both your challenge and your opportunity for transformation. Practice. Take 3 beliefs you currently hold about your life, about your work, your relationships, your possibilities. Visualize clearly what outcomes these beliefs are creating. Now choose one belief to transform. See yourself living from this new perspective. Feel the reality of it in your body. Hold this vision until it feels as natural as breathing. The law will respond with the same certainty that brings dawn after night. Your conscious participation in this process is the key that unlocks the door to deliberate creation. Chapter 9. From Wanting to Knowing. In a dimly lit corner of an old library where ancient wisdom rested on mahogany shelves, Evelyn spent her days surrounded by countless volumes on manifesting dreams. Her fingers traced leather-bound spines as she collected every text that promised to unlock the secrets of desire. Yet despite her vast knowledge, her own wishes remained suspended in the realm of theory, floating like dust motes in the afternoon light. You see, knowing about manifestation differs entirely from knowing you are worthy of receiving. This truth lies at the heart of all creation. It is not the wanting that brings forth your desires, but the unwavering certainty that they are already yours. The ancient masters understood this principle well, teaching that creation begins not with longing, but with acceptance of what is already complete in the invisible realm. When you stand before the mirror of life, what reflects back is not what you wish for, but what you know yourself to be. The universe responds not to your hopes, but to your deepest convictions about what you deserve. This is why 2 people can perform identical visualization practices, yet experience vastly different results. One creates from a place of lack, the other from a foundation of abundance already recognized within. Thomas, a man who once gambled away his fortunes in dimly lit backrooms, discovered this truth through bitter experience. Night after night, he would visualize winning, desperately hoping to change his luck. But it wasn't until he stopped seeing himself as someone who needed to win and began knowing himself as someone who had already received abundance that his reality shifted. The moment his inner certainty aligned with his outer desires, the universe had no choice but to reflect this truth back to him. His transformation came not from changing his actions, but from altering the very essence of his self-perception. Your own journey mirrors this ancient wisdom. When you move beyond merely wanting something to knowing it is already yours in the unseen realm, you activate the true power of visualization. This shift from desire to embodiment is the master key that unlocks the door to manifestation. It transforms you from a beggar knocking at the door of possibility to the rightful heir claiming your divine inheritance. The transformation occurs when you release the energy of yearning and step into the quiet confidence of possession. It is not enough to see what you want. You must become one with it in your mind and heart until there is no separation between you and your vision. In this sacred space of oneness, the seen and unseen worlds merge, and what was once merely hoped for becomes inevitable. Practice. Write down a single statement of what you know is coming to you, and read it aloud daily. Speak these words not as a future promise, but as a present reality, allowing your entire being to resonate with their truth. Chapter 10. The Inner Temple of Vision. In a small cottage on the outskirts of town lived Sylvia, whose garden had long since surrendered to wilderness. While others saw only tangled vines and withered blooms, she discovered something extraordinary within those neglected walls, a sacred space where thought became form. The wild roses climbed untamed, creating natural archways that seemed to lead into other realms of possibility. Each morning, Sylvia would sit among the overgrown roses, close her eyes, and enter the temple of her mind. There, in that inner sanctuary, she learned that visualization was not mere daydreaming. It was communion with the creative force of the universe itself. As the morning dew settled on her skin, she felt the boundary between inner and outer worlds dissolve. You too possess this inner temple, more magnificent than any structure built by human hands. When you close your eyes to visualize, you are not simply imagining, you are entering the workshop of creation itself. This is sacred work requiring the same reverence as prayer, the same dedication as the ancient mystics brought to their ceremonies. The universe responds not to casual wishes, but to visions held with divine respect. Your mind is an altar where thoughts transform into reality. Each visualization is an offering placed upon this altar, a seed planted in cosmic soil. Treat these moments with the sanctity they deserve, for they are the foundation of all manifestation. In a distant village there lived a man named Leonard who had lost everything in a great fire. Rather than rebuild his outer world first, he created an inner altar through pure imagination. Each dawn, he would sit in the ashes of his former life and with eyes closed build a temple of thought. In this inner sanctuary, he placed his visions with the care of a priest tending sacred flames, letting each image burn bright with possibility. Day by day, his outer world began to mirror his inner temple. Opportunities arose, resources appeared, and what he had placed upon his altar of visualization manifested in physical form. Those who witnessed his restoration called it a miracle, but Leonard knew it was simply the law of mind made visible through reverent practice. His neighbors watched in wonder as his life transformed from ashes to abundance. This truth beckons to you now. Your visualization practice is not a mental exercise, it is a holy ritual. The space between your thoughts is more sacred than any cathedral, for it is here that the divine speaks through images of what can be. In this hallowed chamber of consciousness, every thought carries the seed of physical manifestation. Just as ancient priests prepared their temples for worship, you must approach your visualization with ceremonial respect. Create a dedicated time and space for this practice. Let each session be an act of reverence, knowing that in these moments you touch the very power that creates worlds. Approach this altar of mind with clean thoughts and pure intention, for here in the silence, miracles take root. Practice. Designate a physical space or object as your vision altar. Visit it daily to visualize, treating each session as a sacred appointment with the infinite. Let this become your personal sanctuary, where thoughts transform into reality. Part 2, The Alchemy of Thought and Emotion. Chapter 11, Emotion. In the misty hills of a mountain village where autumn mist clung to the valleys like a dreamer's sigh, lived Lillian. Each evening her violin song would drift through the town square, technically perfect, yet somehow hollow, until the night she learned the ancient truth about feeling. You see, Lillian had mastered every note, every crescendo, every delicate pause. But her music touched no hearts until she discovered that technique without emotion was like a body without a soul. It was only when she closed her eyes and allowed herself to feel the joy, the longing, the love within each note that her violin began to weave magic. The villagers, who had always politely applauded her skill, now found themselves moved to tears, their spirits lifted by melodies that seemed to speak directly to their innermost selves. This truth extends far beyond music. It is the very essence of creation itself. Your thoughts, like Lillian's notes, must be infused with genuine emotion to manifest in the physical world. The universe responds not to the precision of your vision, but to the depth of your feeling. When your desires are clothed in the rich garments of emotion, they become living things, pulsing with the energy that bridges the invisible and the visible realms. In the heart of the same mountains lived Roy, a former boxer whose hands once knew only the language of force. After an injury ended his career, he spent years visualizing healing, yet his body remained locked in pain. The change came not through his detailed mental pictures of wellness, but through a simple moment when he allowed himself to feel absolute peace. In that sacred instant of surrender, when he truly felt wholeness coursing through his veins, his body began its journey back to harmony. The law of attraction operates through this magnetic current of emotion. When you marry clear vision with authentic feeling, you create a signal so powerful that the universe cannot help but respond. Your emotions are not mere reactions. They are creative forces, divine currents that magnetize your thoughts into physical form. They are the alchemical fire that transforms the lead of mere wishful thinking into the gold of manifestation. What you feel as real becomes real. This is not metaphor, but law. Just as Lillian's music transformed when she played from her heart, your visualizations transform when you feel them as already accomplished. The universe knows no difference between an emotion sparked by physical reality and one generated by pure faith. It simply responds to the vibrational offering you present, matching your inner state with outer circumstances in perfect reflection. Practice. Take a moment now to choose one desired outcome. In your journal, write not what you wish to happen, but what it feels like now that it has happened. Let every word carry the weight of emotion. Describe the gratitude washing over you, the joy bubbling within, the peace settling in your bones. Throughout your day, return to this feeling state, knowing it is the current that draws your vision into being. This emotional resonance is your true creative power. Chapter 12. The Imprint of Repetition. In a weathered shop on the corner of Pine and Memory, where the scent of oil and metal lingered in the air, Clifford tended to broken typewriters. Each morning before the sun rose, he would select a pristine sheet of paper, insert it into his 1932 Underwood, and type the same words: "I am a master craftsman, sought after by those who value excellence." The mechanical rhythm of keys striking paper became his meditation. Day after day, week after week, the same words flowed from his fingers onto fresh stories. Some might have called it foolish, this daily ritual of typing identical phrases into the pre-dawn silence. Yet Clifford understood an ageless truth. The mind responds to repetition as surely as metal yields to persistent pressure. You see, what you impress repeatedly upon the subtle substance of consciousness must, by universal law, express itself in visible form, just as water, falling drop by drop, eventually carves channels in stone, so too does consistent visualization create pathways in the unseen realm. The universe recognizes the language of persistence. It honors what you attend to faithfully, transforming thought patterns into physical reality with mathematical precision. As Clifford's practice deepened, something shifted. His reputation began to spread beyond the small town's borders. Collectors started bringing him their rarest machines. Writers whose words had shaped generations sought his expertise. His simple affirmation, typed faithfully each morning, had carved a groove in the invisible, and reality reshaped itself to fill that groove, as naturally as a river follows the path of least resistance. Consider now Nancy, whose fingers knew the whisper of silk and weight of wool. In her small dressmaking shop, she held one image in her mind as she worked, herself designing for those who appreciated true artistry. Morning and evening, between the fitting of seams and pressing of pleats, she would close her eyes and see this picture with such clarity that it seemed to breathe with life. Others hurried through their work, but Nancy knew that patient repetition was the key. Like a master weaver creating an intricate tapestry, she wove her vision into the fabric of her days. And gradually, as naturally as spring follows winter, her clientele transformed. The vision she had held faithfully began to breathe and move in her world, manifesting with an elegance that mirrored her own craftsmanship. What these stories reveal is profound. Repetition is not mere mechanical action. It is a sacred practice of impressing truth upon the universal mind. Each time you return to your chosen image, you deepen its power. Like a sculptor working with invisible clay, your consistent visualization shapes the substance from which tomorrow is formed. This is the hidden law the ancients knew, that attention, directed with purpose and returned to with devotion, becomes the chisel with which you carve your destiny. Practice. Select one mental image and return to it at the same time every day for 21 days. Watch as the seed of your visualization takes root in the fertile soil of the universal mind. Chapter 13. Imagination obeys the will. In a small village positioned among ancient oaks, a carpenter named Gerald stood before his workbench, his hands trembling like autumn leaves. Once renowned for crafting the finest furniture in 3 counties, he now struggled to hold even the simplest tools. The tremors had appeared suddenly, like unwelcome guests, and with them came the whispers of doubt that echoed through his mind, threatening to overpower the wisdom he had spent decades perfecting through his craft. You see, the power of focused will remains one of the most potent forces in the universe. Just as Gerald faced his workshop each morning, you too stand before the raw materials of your life, your circumstances, challenges, and aspirations waiting to be shaped by your intention. Your imagination is not some wayward child to be left unattended. It is a master craftsman awaiting your direction, a divine instrument through which creation itself flows. When Gerald finally understood this truth, he began each day by sitting quietly in his workshop, eyes closed, hands resting on his knees. In his mind, he saw his hands steady and sure, moving with precision and grace. He commanded his inner vision with the same authority he once commanded his tools. These hands are steady. These hands create beauty. These hands serve my will. Day by day, the trembling subsided, as though his body recognized the authority of his directed consciousness. The law responds not to wishful thinking, but to focused command. Your mind awaits your instructions with the same faithful readiness as a well-trained horse awaits its rider's signal. When you direct your imagination with purpose, it has no choice but to obey, for this is the ancient covenant between consciousness and creation that has existed since time immemorial. Consider Beatrice, who taught at the Valley School. Her thoughts once scattered like leaves in a storm, carrying her attention away from her goals. She learned to gather these thoughts as one might gather wool for spinning, weaving them into a single powerful vision. Each morning before her students arrived, she would stand at her desk and mentally rehearse. I teach with clarity. My students understand. Knowledge flows freely. Within months, her classroom transformed into a haven of eager learning, her students' eyes bright with understanding. The universe bows to direct thought. As surely as water follows the course you carve for it, your reality follows the channel of your focused imagination. Your mind is not meant to wander. It is meant to be led with purpose and precision, like a ship guided by the steady hand of its captain through both calm seas and tempestuous waters. When you understand this principle, you begin to treat your imagination as the sacred instrument it truly is. Every thought becomes intentional, every mental image carefully chosen and clearly held. This is not mere fancy, but the practical application of universal law, the same law that guides the stars in their courses and brings the seed to flower in its season. Practice. Create a 1-minute mental script and repeat it 3 times a day with full intention. Speak to your mind as a commander speaks to those under their authority, with certainty that your words will be heeded and your vision made manifest. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14, The Veil of Doubt and How to Dissolve It. In a quiet village where whispers carried far, Ruth lived alone in a stone cottage, her windows always lit by the warm glow of candlelight. Each evening, as shadows lengthened across the cobbled path, she would sit in her weathered wooden chair, close her eyes, and envision the life she yearned to create with such clarity that it felt nearly tangible. Yet around her, voices echoed with disbelief. Neighbors whose well-meaning concerns planted seeds of uncertainty in the garden of her dreams. You hold within you a power greater than any external voice, a divine birthright that transcends the limitations others would place upon you. The world may question, doubt may arise from every direction, but truth remains unmoved like the ancient mountains, steadfast and eternal. What you know in the depths of your heart transcends all skepticism, all conventional wisdom that would bind you to lesser possibilities. When doubt knocks at your door, as it inevitably will, learn to greet it with understanding rather than resistance or fear. Ruth discovered this profound secret not through struggle, but through surrender to a higher wisdom. She recognized that doubt was not her enemy to be battled, but merely a shadow that naturally dissolved in the pure light of inner knowing. With each passing day, she grew stronger in her practice of certainty, not by fighting against the doubts that arose, but by gently turning her attention toward what she knew to be true in the sanctuary of her soul. The universe responds not to your fleeting wishes or desperate hopes, but to your deepest knowing, that unshakable certainty that resonates at the core of your being. When you plant a seed in fertile soil, you do not stand over it doubting its emergence. You trust implicitly in the natural law that governs all creation. So too must you trust in the immutable law that governs manifestation, knowing that what you hold as truth in your heart must, by divine decree, blossom into physical form. Consider Calvin, who spent long years searching for gold in the rugged mountains when all others had abandoned the quest. Villagers mocked his persistence, family members pleaded for him to return to conventional work, and experts declared the mines empty of all treasure. But Calvin held an unwavering vision of abundance beneath the unyielding rock. He saw it in his mind with perfect clarity, felt it in his bones as an absolute certainty. When others walked away, shaking their heads in pity, he remained steadfast in his knowledge. And there, in the depths where others saw only worthless stone, he discovered a vein of gold so pure and abundant it seemed to glow with its own inner light. Calvin's story mirrors your own journey through the landscape of manifestation. The treasure you seek already exists in the realm of completion. It awaits only your unwavering recognition to bridge the gap between spiritual reality and physical expression. Like Ruth, who learned to silence the chorus of doubt by amplifying her inner voice of truth, you too can cultivate this sacred certainty that transforms invisible potential into visible abundance. The doubts that arise in your mind are not impenetrable walls. They are merely veils, thin and transparent, ready to dissolve in the radiant light of your knowing. Each time uncertainty surfaces in your thoughts, greet it not as an enemy, but as a faithful reminder to strengthen your vision, to deepen your trust in the unseen but perfect laws that govern all creation and manifestation. Practice. Write down 3 doubts that currently shadow your path. For each doubt, craft an opposite statement of absolute truth and spend 5 minutes in quiet contemplation, visualizing the complete reality of that statement until you feel its resonance in every cell of your being. Chapter 15. The world reflects your inner movie. In a weathered movie house at the edge of a sleepy town, Hazel spent her evenings threading film through the ancient projector. Night after night, she watched stories unfold on the silver screen until she noticed something extraordinary. The scenes she replayed in her mind began materializing in her daily life, as if some unseen projectionist was casting her thoughts onto the screen of reality. You possess this same divine projector within your mind. Each thought you hold, each scene you replay becomes the film through which your life story unfolds. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, does not distinguish between the images you consciously choose and those you unconsciously entertain. It simply projects what you feed it. This is not merely metaphor, but the very mechanism through which creation manifests in your experience. Your mind is perpetually running a sacred film. Every experience you encounter, every circumstance you face, is but a reflection of the movie playing within. When you understand this truth, you realize that changing your life's picture begins with changing the real. The outer world has no choice but to conform to the inner vision you consistently maintain with emotional conviction. In the heart of a bustling city, Emmett worked as a bank teller, his days marked by the same tired story, one of limitation and quiet desperation. Each morning he would replay scenes of struggle, and each day would mirror back those very images, until one morning something stirred within him. He began to edit his inner film, carefully crafting new scenes of possibility and purpose. As he held these new images with unwavering attention, his external world began to shift scene by scene until his life matched the movie in his mind. What appeared as a miracle to others was simply the natural law of mind operating through him. This simple truth stands before you now. Your world is not happening to you. It is responding to the film you are playing within. Every thought, every image you hold becomes a frame in the movie of your life. The power lies not in wishing for a different reality, but in consciously directing the scenes you play in your mind's theater. You are both the director and the audience of this magnificent production called your life. Practice. Find a quiet moment each evening. Close your eyes and choose one current situation in your life. Now, reimagine it as a scene in a movie, complete with the lighting, the dialogue, the emotions you wish to experience. Play this new scene in your mind's theater each night before sleep, feeling its reality as deeply as if you were watching it on the grandest screen. Notice how your emotional response intensifies the projection and how, with each viewing, the boundary between imagination and reality grows ever thinner. Chapter 16. Speak what you see. In a small village where herbs grow wild and wisdom grew deeper, Opal tended her apothecary shop with gentle hands and a knowing heart. Each morning before dawn, she would stand in her garden, surrounded by healing plants, and whisper her visions into the morning mist. At first, these whispered words seemed to dissolve into the air like dew, but slowly, steadily, they began taking root in the soil of reality. The villagers noticed how her garden flourished beyond others, how healing occurred more swiftly with her remedies, though few understood the sacred ritual she performed each day. You too hold this sacred power of the spoken word. When your inner vision finds voice, it gains strength. The ancient ones knew this truth. Sound carries creative force. Your words are not mere expressions of thought, they are seeds of manifestation. When you speak what you see within, you bridge the gap between the unseen and the seen. The universe responds not just to silent imagery, but to the vibration of voiced intention. This wisdom appears throughout the sacred texts of every tradition, from the opening lines of creation stories to the healing incantations of shamans and medicine people across the ages. In the bustling streets of a merchant district, Eugene faced the empty shelves of his failing shop. Each morning, he began speaking life into his business, not as wishful thinking, but as present truth. Customers flow through these doors. Products move swiftly. Abundance fills these shelves. Day by day, his spoken visions took form until his store hummed with the very activity he had voiced into being. What changed was not merely his fortunes, but the very energy his establishment radiated. Customers would remark how entering his shop felt like stepping into a place where prosperity itself dwelled. This mirrors your own journey of creation. When you align your speech with your inner vision, you create a harmony that the universe must answer. Your words are not hopes cast into void. They are declarations that shape reality. Speak with the quiet confidence of one who knows their words carry power. This is not pride, but sacred responsibility, for you are engaging with the same force that brings stars into being. The key lies not in volume, but in certainty. Let your voice carry the calm assurance of truth already established. Speak your vision not as something to come, but as something that is. The present tense is your most powerful ally. It tells the universe this is, not this might be. When doubt arises, as it inevitably will, return to this practice with even greater devotion, for it is often at the threshold of manifestation that uncertainty makes its final stand. Practice. Speak one sentence daily that affirms your vision as already real, always in present tense. Do this at dawn or dusk when the veil between worlds grows thin, and feel the vibration of your words resonating with the creative forces of existence. Chapter 17, The Ritual of Seeing Again. In a weathered lighthouse on a rocky shore, Lois kept her nightly vigil. As ships relied on her beacon, she relied on an inner light, a vision she held faithfully each evening as the sun dipped below the horizon. In her small tower room, she would close her eyes and see not just the physical lamp she tended, but a radiant light within that grew stronger with each viewing. Night after night, through storm and calm, her inner vision remained steadfast, a companion to her solitary watch. You possess this same capacity for inner illumination. Through sacred repetition, your visualization becomes more than mere practice. It transforms into ritual. Each time you return to your chosen image, you strengthen the bridge between the unseen and the seen. This is not mechanical repetition, but a holy communion with the creative force that shapes all things. Like an artist returning to their canvas, adding layers of depth with each brushstroke, you build your reality through consistent attention to your vision. The mind responds to consistent attention. What you revisit regularly becomes etched in the fabric of your consciousness, and through this etching, manifestation begins. Your repeated vision is like a steady flame, burning away doubt and uncertainty until only pure knowing remains. This knowing resonates at the deepest levels of your being, sending ripples through the universal consciousness that eventually return as physical reality. In a small town far from the sea, Wendell, once a soldier, discovered this truth. His mind had become a battlefield of shadowed memories until he learned to replace each dark image with one of healing light. Night after night he would sit in his garden, eyes closed, holding a vision of golden rays washing through his being. What began as discipline became devotion, and slowly the shadows gave way to dawn. Friends noticed the change before he did. A lightness in his step, a clarity in his eyes that spoke of inner peace reclaimed. This tale mirrors your own potential for transformation. Through dedicated practice, you too can replace old patterns with new visions. The key lies not in forcing change, but in gentle, persistent return to your chosen image. Like water wearing smooth stones, your consistent visualization shapes reality. The universe responds not to desperate pleas, but to the quiet certainty of repeated intention. Each time you revisit your vision, you deepen its impression in the universal mind. This is not repetition or repetition's sake. It is the sacred act of becoming. Just as a prayer gains power through devotion, your visualization grows stronger through faithful return. In this faithful return, you align yourself with the ancient rhythm of creation that has guided seekers throughout the ages. Practice. Create a sacred time and place to visualize the same scene for 5 minutes each day for one moon cycle. Notice how the vision becomes clearer, more vibrant, and more real with each session. Allow yourself to feel the emotion of your vision fulfilled, for emotion is the language the universe understands most deeply. Chapter 18. The Body Believes the Mind. In a valley positioned between ancient hills, Myrtle tended to those who sought healing. Though her own body bore the weight of years, she discovered a truth more potent than any herb or tincture. Each morning, she would rise and move with the grace of perfect health, speaking words of vitality until her flesh began to mirror her inner vision. You too hold this power within. Your body is not merely flesh and bone. It is a living expression of your deepest beliefs. The subconscious mind, that faithful servant, accepts whatever images you present to it as truth. It knows no difference between what you vividly imagine and what exists in the physical world. When you walk, speak, and move as though your desired state is already manifest, you create new pathways in your nervous system. This is not pretense. It is the activation of natural law. Your cells respond to the pictures you paint in your mind, especially when those pictures are embodied through movement and voice. In a distant town, Edwin knew this transformation firsthand. Fear had once gripped him so tightly he could barely leave his home. Yet he began to move differently, standing tall, walking with purpose, speaking with quiet confidence. At first it felt foreign, almost false. But as he persisted in embodying courage, his nervous system began to align with this new pattern. What started as a conscious choice became a natural expression. Your own transformation awaits this same embodied practice. The body you inhabit is not fixed. It is fluid, responsive to the signals you send through visualization and movement. When you align your physical expression with your inner vision, you create a bridge between potential and manifestation. This is not mere positive thinking. It is the practical application of universal law. Your subconscious mind, which governs bodily functions and automatic responses, accepts the role you play with conviction. As you move through your day embodying your vision, you literally reshape your neural pathways and cellular memory. Practice, walk, move, and speak for 5 minutes daily as your future self, fully inhabiting the vision. Chapter 19. Letting Go of the How. In a small town where time seemed to move more slowly, Bernice sat at her worn wooden table each night, meticulously planning every detail of how her dreams would unfold. Her fingers, calloused from years of needlework, would trace elaborate maps and lists, trying to control each step toward her vision. You must understand that this desire to control the path is natural, yet it creates resistance to the very thing you seek. Like Bernice, you may find yourself caught in the web of how, rather than trusting in the wisdom of the universe to arrange the perfect circumstances. The universe operates through infinite channels, most of which remain hidden from mortal sight. When you clutch too tightly to your own limited vision of how things must unfold, you inadvertently close countless doors of possibility. Your role is to hold the vision clear and true, while releasing attachment to the method of its arrival. One morning, exhausted from her planning, Bernice finally surrendered. She burned her lists and simply held her dream in her heart, with quiet faith. Within weeks, opportunities she could never have engineered began flowing into her life effortlessly. Russell, a skilled mechanic in the neighboring town, discovered this same truth through a different path. For years, he had tried to force his vision of owning his own garage through careful calculations and rigid plans. Nothing manifested until the day he released his grip on the process and simply trusted. The perfect location appeared through a chance encounter he could never have planned. These stories mirror your own journey with manifestation. When you release the need to control every detail, you allow the infinite intelligence of the universe to work on your behalf. This is not passive waiting. It is active trust in a power greater than your logical mind. Practice. After visualizing, say aloud, "This or something better, through paths of ease and grace. I release the how." Chapter 20. When inner and outer align. In a small theater in the heart of New England, Etta would stand alone each morning, remembering her days on stage. Yet the greatest role she would ever play was not written in any script. It was the role of becoming her truest self. You possess this same transformative power. When your inner vision aligns perfectly with your outer expression, you enter a sacred state of being where manifestation becomes inevitable. This is not mere acting, it is the art of authentic embodiment. Your thoughts, emotions, words, and actions must sing in perfect harmony. When you think abundance while feeling lack, speak of joy while carrying sorrow, or act small while dreaming big, you create discord in the universal symphony. But when all aspects of your being align with your vision, you become an instrument through which the divine expresses itself. Consider Stanley, the woodworker who lived in a modest cabin at the edge of town. For years, he dreamed of creating masterpieces that would grace the finest homes. Yet his hands moved tentatively, his prices reflected doubt, and his workshop remained dim and disorganized. One dawn, Stanley rose and declared, "I am a master craftsman." He cleaned his workshop as though it were a sacred temple, handled his tools with the reverence they deserved, and spoke to clients with quiet confidence. He did not pretend. He simply allowed his outer world to reflect the truth he held within. Within months, Stanley's work began appearing in galleries, not because he had learned new techniques, but because he had finally become one with his vision. His story mirrors the potential that lies within you. When you dare to live as though your vision is already manifest, the universe cannot help but conform to this truth. The key lies not in forcing change, but in allowing your whole being to naturally express what you have already claimed within. Your thoughts, feelings, words, and actions become a single note, pure and true, calling forth its matching reality. Practice. Make a list of 3 small ways to act today in alignment with your vision. Choose one and do it. Part 3. Embodying the Magnetic Mind. Chapter 21. You are the magnetic field. In a small workshop filled with radio equipment, Cornelius spent his days tuning into invisible frequencies that carried voices and music through the air. Each morning, he would adjust dials with practiced precision, finding the perfect resonance that brought clarity to static-filled signals. You, too, are a living broadcast station. Every thought you hold, every emotion you nurture, radiates outward on frequencies unseen yet powerfully real. This is not metaphor. It is universal law. Your mind and heart generate waves of energy that ripple through the fabric of existence, drawing to you all that vibrates in harmony with your signal. The universe responds not to what you wish for, but to what you are. When you understand this truth, you cease the exhausting effort of trying to manifest, and instead become the living embodiment of what you seek. Your role is not to reach for things outside yourself, but to tune your own frequency to match that which you desire to experience. In a bustling hospital ward, Nurse Irene discovered this principle through an unexpected path. Though chaos swirled around her, she maintained an unwavering inner peace. Soon, patients in her care began to heal more rapidly. Colleagues found themselves calming in her presence. Even the most difficult situations seemed to resolve themselves when she entered the room. She had become a center of peace, and the world had no choice but to reflect her frequency back to her. This mirrors the truth waiting in your own life. The outer world must reshape itself to match your inner state, not because you are forcing it to, but because it cannot do otherwise. Like attracts like with mathematical precision, your energy signature calls forth its mirror in all things. You need not strain to attract good into your life. Instead, become the frequency of what you seek. If you desire abundance, radiate the feeling of wealth. If you seek love, emanate love from within. If you want peace, be peace. The universe will find you by your signal. Practice. Close your eyes and ask, what energy am I radiating today? Then shift consciously into the state that matches your desired outcome. Chapter 22. Live in the image you hold. In a dimly lit dressing room, Milton stood before a mirror, his once familiar stage costume hanging untouched in the corner. For 40 years, he had transformed himself nightly into kings, beggars, and dreamers. Now retired, he discovered the most important role of his life, becoming the person he truly wished to be. You possess this same transformative power. The secret lies not in waiting for circumstances to change, but in embodying your vision now. When you dress, speak, and move as though your desired reality is present, you activate forces beyond mortal understanding. This is the art of being before becoming. Your outer world arranges itself to match your inner state. Each choice, each gesture, each word you speak either aligns with or contradicts your vision. There is no neutral ground. You are either living as though your desire is fulfilled, or you are unconsciously rejecting it through misaligned action. In a small town where hope seemed scarce, Lucille's bakery teetered on the edge of closure. Rather than surrendering to circumstances, she began arriving each morning dressed as the successful proprietor she knew herself to be. She arranged fresh flowers on spotless counters, greeted each customer as though her shop was already thriving, and made decisions with the confidence of abundance. Within months, her reality shifted to match her embodiment. This truth lies before you. What you are becoming is determined by how you are being. Your future self is not a distant stranger. It is a presence you can step into now. Each time you act from this alignment, you strengthen the magnetic pull of your vision. Practice. Look at your life today. Where are you still waiting for circumstances to change before you change? Choose one area and take immediate action as your future self would. Perhaps it's updating your wardrobe, adjusting your posture, or making decisions with the authority of someone who already has what you desire. This is not pretense. It is the sacred art of embodiment. Chapter 23, The Vision That Cannot Be Denied. In a small post office position among rolling hills, Florence sorted letters each morning before dawn. Her weathered hands knew every envelope's destination, but she carried her own secret. Each evening she wrote letters to herself dated 1 year ahead, describing the life she yearned to create. You hold within you this same sacred power, the ability to script your future with absolute clarity. Just as Florence's letters carried the weight of her conviction, your vision, when held with unwavering faith, becomes a magnetic force that shapes reality. The universe responds not to fleeting wishes, but to images carved deep in consciousness through persistent focus. Each time you return to your vision with renewed conviction, you strengthen its pull on the fabric of creation. This is not mere repetition. It is spiritual persistence that pierces the veil between thought and form. In a distant observatory, Oscar gazed at the stars while sketching designs for an impossible invention. Night after night, he refined not just his blueprints, but the image in his mind. Others dismissed his dreams as fantasy, yet he held fast to what he saw within. Slowly, mysteriously, components appeared, connections revealed themselves, until one evening his vision stood complete before him. His journey mirrors the universal truth awaiting your recognition. When you refuse to abandon the picture you hold within, even in the face of apparent impossibility, the universe must eventually conform to your vision. This is not stubborn denial of reality. It is the highest form of faith in the creative power you wield. Your clarity becomes your destiny. Each detail you add to your mental image, each emotion you infuse it with, accelerates its manifestation. The universe cannot resist a vision held with such pristine focus and feeling. Sacred practice. Craft a single sentence that captures the essence of your deepest vision. Write it by hand each day for 30 days, allowing each stroke of the pen to engrave it deeper into your consciousness. Let this daily ritual become your covenant with the universe, a declaration of what must be. Chapter 24, The Aligned Life. In a sunlit kitchen where herbs dried in twisted bundles, Gloria sat surrounded by scattered papers, her manuscripts, bills, and calendar all competing for attention. Each morning she wrote beautiful stories about aligned living, yet her own life felt like 1,000 fragments refusing to form a whole. You too may recognize this discord, the gap between your vision and your daily reality. Yet within you lies the power to bring every element of life into harmony with your deepest truth. When your thoughts, actions, and choices align with your soul's knowing, you become an unshakable magnet for manifestation. The magnetic mind requires more than isolated moments of visualization. It demands coherence. When your schedule reflects your priorities, when your spending mirrors your values, when your relationships resonate with your truth, you create a unified field of attraction. This alignment amplifies your creative force beyond measure. In a small corner store with shelves of gleaming jars, Marvin faced a choice that would test his integrity. A supplier offered him cheaper goods that contradicted his commitment to quality. Though profits tempted him, he felt the discord in his bones. In declining the offer, he discovered that each no to misalignment was a yes to his vision's manifestation. Within months, his authentic choices drew customers who valued what he truly offered. Your journey mirrors both Gloria and Marvin's awakening. Each time you align another aspect of life with your inner vision, you strengthen the magnetic current. This is not about perfection. It is about progression toward wholeness. When mind, body, spirit, and daily choices sing in harmony, the universe cannot help but respond. Practice. Write down your top 3 life priorities. Review one area today that needs alignment and make a small adjustment. Chapter 25. The Sacred Discipline of Imagination. In a weathered cabin perched high among ancient pines, Alma sat each morning before dawn with only candlelight illuminating her notebook. The ritual never varied. She would light the candle, bow her head in gratitude, and open herself to receive the verses that seemed to flow from somewhere beyond herself. Through years of this practice, she discovered that creativity was not a fickle muse, but a faithful companion to those who approached with devotion. You too possess this sacred instrument of imagination, though perhaps you have treated it casually. The power to shape reality through visualization is not a tool to be wielded at random moments, but a divine gift worthy of dedication and reverence. When you establish sacred time for your inner work, you signal to the universe your readiness to co-create. Your mind is not merely a thinking machine, it is a holy temple where divine ideas take form. Just as prayer requires devotion, visualization demands consistent, reverent practice. Those who treat this power with casual interest receive casual results, but those who approach with dedication witness miracles unfold with clockwork precision. Along the misty shores before sunrise, Stan would anchor his boat and close his eyes, seeing not the empty nets before him, but the abundant catch he knew would come. Day after day, he maintained this ritual regardless of weather or weariness. Other fishermen called him peculiar, but they could not deny his nets grew heavier as his vision grew stronger. His success lay not in technique, but in the unwavering devotion to his morning ritual. The truth Stan discovered awaits your recognition. When visualization becomes as natural as breathing, as regular as the sunrise, its power multiplies exponentially. This is not about forcing yourself to imagine. It is about creating space for sacred communion with the infinite. Through dedicated practice, your mind becomes a consecrated vessel through which divine intention flows. Practice. Set aside the same time daily for vision work. Treat it as spiritual devotion, not a task. Chapter 26. What you no longer need falls away. In a small attic workspace filled with scattered fabric remnants and worn pattern books, Dorothy sat surrounded by the familiar tools of her trade. For 40 years she had crafted garments using the same trusted patterns, her fingers knowing every fold and seam by heart. Yet lately, her hands had begun to tremble when reaching for these old friends, as though some deeper wisdom whispered of change. You too may recognize this moment, when the familiar patterns of your life begin to feel like constraints rather than comforts. The universe speaks through such subtle signals, gently urging you to release what no longer serves your expanding vision. What you have outgrown must fall away to make space for what awaits. This is not loss, but sacred preparation. As your inner vision evolves, life itself becomes the master tailor, removing old stitches to allow new patterns to emerge. The threads that once held your world together may begin to unravel, not to destroy, but to recreate. Edgar, a merchant who had inherited his father's store, understood this truth only after great resistance. For years he maintained every detail exactly as it had been, preserving a legacy that no longer fit the community's needs. His dreams showed him a transformed space, a gathering place for artists and craftsmen, yet he clung to dusty shelves and outdated inventory. Only when a flood damaged the old stock did Edgar finally surrender. In that forced release, he discovered that loss created the very opening his vision required. Within months, the store transformed into the vibrant hub he had imagined, far surpassing his original dreams. Your journey of manifestation requires similar courage. Each vision you hold contains not only a blueprint for creation, but also a gentle mandate for release. What appears as loss is actually magnetic purification, the universe's way of clearing space for your emerging reality. Let your vision guide what must be released. Trust that when old patterns dissolve, new threads of destiny begin to weave themselves into the fabric of your life. This surrender is not defeat. It is sacred collaboration with the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all creation. Practice. Name one habit, object, or thought pattern to release today. Bless it. Let it go. Chapter 27. The universe speaks in symbols. In a dimly lit antique shop where time seemed to stand still, Frances arranged her treasured collection, each piece carrying whispers of stories untold. Every morning, she would find a white feather on her doorstep, though no birds nested nearby. At precisely 11:11, the old grandfather clock would chime, though its mechanisms had long since ceased to work. And daily, from somewhere in the distance, the same melody would drift through her window, a song her mother once hummed. You too are surrounded by such divine messages, though you may have dismissed them as mere coincidence. The universe speaks not in thunderous proclamations, but in gentle repetitions, in synchronicities that catch your eye and quicken your heart. These are not random events, but sacred confirmations of your alignment with universal forces. When you align with your truest vision, the world begins to whisper back through symbols. A book falls open to the exact page you needed to read. A stranger speaks the very words you've been pondering. Numbers appear in meaningful patterns. These are not accidents. They are the language of spirit, confirming your path. Leon, a piano tuner known for his precise ear, spent years searching for success through logical planning and careful analysis. Each morning, he would review his goals, create detailed strategies, and measure his progress. Yet true breakthrough only came when he learned to listen differently, not for problems to fix, but for the subtle harmonies life was playing for him. He began to notice how certain melodies would appear just as he questioned his path, how specific chords would ring out when his thoughts aligned with truth. The more he trusted these musical messages, the more his life flowed in perfect rhythm. His business transformed not through careful planning, but through following the song of synchronicity. This tale mirrors your own journey. The universe is not silent. It speaks constantly through symbols, signs, and meaningful coincidences. These are not mere happenstance, but divine acknowledgments of your alignment with higher truth. When you learn to read these sacred signals, you discover that you have never been alone in your creation. The universe has been orchestrating alongside you all along. Practice. Ask the universe for a symbol to confirm your path. Watch gently, with trust, and record what shows up. Chapter 28. Rejoice before it arrives. In a small cottage at the edge of a sleepy town, Hattie rose each morning before dawn. Though her husband's chair sat empty, she pushed aside the heavy curtains and let golden light flood the wooden floors. Where others might have seen only loss, she saw possibility. Each sunrise, she would turn on her beloved's old phonograph, close her eyes, and dance, not in sorrow, but in celebration of what she knew was coming. You see, Hattie had discovered a truth that few understand. Joy need not wait for circumstance. The universe responds not to what is, but to what you feel is real. When you dare to celebrate before the evidence appears, you tap into creation's deepest current. Your inner state is the magnet that draws or repels your desires. When you wait to feel joy until your dreams manifest, you place yourself perpetually in waiting. But when you celebrate now, you collapse time itself. This is not mere positive thinking. It is the sacred science of attraction. The question before you is not what do I see, but rather, what am I celebrating? For the universe cannot distinguish between joy felt for what is and joy felt for what will be. It simply matches your frequency. Consider Silas, the baker's son, who understood this principle so well that he threw a grand feast, complete with music, dancing, and toasts, for the bakery he had not yet opened. His neighbors thought him mad, celebrating success that existed only in his mind. Yet within months, that very bakery stood proudly on Main Street, its windows gleaming with fresh bread and possibility. What Silas knew, and what you must understand, is that celebration is not the result of manifestation. It is the cause. His feast was not foolish fancy. It was magnetic force in action. By daring to rejoice before evidence appeared, he commanded the universe to match his joy with corresponding reality. Your visions await not better circumstances, but better celebration. Like Hattie dancing in her empty cottage, you must find the courage to feel triumph now. This is not pretense, it is power. Practice. Spend 5 minutes celebrating your dream each day as if it's already complete. Smile, move, give thanks. Chapter 29. Your future has already been chosen. In the misty hours before sunrise, Beverly would often find herself stirring awake, fragments of dreams still clinging to her consciousness. You see, her nights were filled with visions of a house she had never entered, yet knew as intimately as her own heartbeat. The scent of pine from its wooden beams, the way morning light streamed through stained glass windows, the precise curve of the banister beneath her palm. What you must understand is that this vision was not mere fantasy. It was a glimpse into what already existed in the infinite field of possibility. Your future is not built from nothing. It is selected from the vast array of what could be. Just as Beverly's dreams were not imagination, but recognition. The universe speaks in whispers of what awaits you. These glimpses, these moments of knowing, are sacred invitations into alignment with what is already yours. When you see it in your mind, you are not creating it, you are acknowledging it, claiming it, stepping toward it. Consider Harold, who wandered into an abandoned library one autumn afternoon. There, in the dusty archives, he discovered a dedication plaque from 30 years prior, bearing his own name. The date was yet to come. What seemed impossible was simply evidence of divine timing, proof that his path was already carved in the marble of destiny. What appears as coincidence is truly convergence, the moment when your inner vision aligns with its outer expression. You are not forcing the future into being, you are allowing yourself to be drawn into what already awaits you. The house that Beverly dreamed of existed before she ever saw it. Harold's name was etched before he drew breath. So too does your destiny exist, waiting for you to step into alignment with it. This is the deeper truth of visualization. It is not creation, but recognition. Not manufacture, but remembrance. When you hold an image in your mind, you are tuning your frequency to what already exists in the field of infinite possibility. Practice. Take pen to paper and write a letter dated 1 year from today. Let your future self speak of the life you now live, the dreams that have manifested, the peace you have found. Read these words aloud each morning for 7 days, not as fiction, but as truth being called into expression. For just as Beverly walked through that doorway she had seen countless times in dreams, so too will you step into the reality you now choose to acknowledge. Chapter 30. The Mind That Creates Worlds. In the dawn-kissed valley of a mountain town where mist clings to ancient pines, there lived a woman named Minnie whose hands shaped dreams into reality. Each morning she would retreat to her workshop, a sanctuary of copper wire, wood, and possibility, where she crafted miniature buildings, streets, and parks, exactly as they appeared in her nighttime visions. You possess this same creative force within you. Like Minnie, your mind holds blueprints of realities waiting to emerge from the formless into form. For months, Minnie worked with unwavering devotion, guided by an inner knowing that transcended logic. Her tiny town grew more detailed with each passing day. A clock tower, with hands forever marking 11:11, a fountain whose waters seemed to sparkle even in miniature, streets that curved in patterns that felt both foreign and familiar. Then came the autumn morning when her sister's letter arrived, inviting her to a small European village she had never visited. As Minnie stepped off the train weeks later, her heart stopped. There before her stood every building, every cobblestone street, every architectural detail she had crafted in her workshop. Her inner vision had been a preview of what already existed, waiting for her arrival. This truth now beckons you to understand. Your mind is not merely generating thoughts. It is a divine instrument, attuned to realities that already exist in the infinite field of possibility. When you visualize with pure intent, you are not creating from nothing. You are aligning with what is already written in the cosmic ledger of potential. Consider young Clint, who filled countless notebooks with drawings of a lighthouse home by the sea. Years passed, and those childhood sketches were forgotten in an attic trunk. Yet on his 33rd birthday, as he turned the key to his new coastal home, he found himself standing in the exact scene he had drawn so many times before, down to the spiral staircase and the way shadows danced on whitewashed walls. What appears as imagination is often recognition, your soul remembering what it has already seen. Your visions are not fantasies. They are glimpses of what awaits your alignment. Practice. For 1 week, journal each morning as if you are living in your ideal reality. Feel it fully as you write. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. The journey you've embarked upon through these stories is not ending. It is deepening. What began as learning is transforming into being. You've discovered that manifestation is not about acquiring, but remembering who you truly are. Your mind, this magnificent instrument of creation, has always known the truth. It whispers to you in moments of stillness, through symbols and synchronicities, through dreams that feel more real than waking. You are not learning to attract, you are remembering how to be the attractor. The ancient wisdom keepers understood this truth. Visualization is not a practice to master, but a power to embody. When you close your eyes to see your vision, you are not reaching for something distant. You are aligning with what already exists within the infinite field of possibility. Let your daily life become your visualization. Every breath, every step, every choice is an opportunity to align with your inner truth. You need not strain or struggle to manifest. Simply be the frequency of what you desire. The universe responds not to what you want, but to what you are. Release the need to constantly check if your vision is manifesting. Trust that what you have planted in consciousness must bloom in experience. The seed does not doubt its flowering, it simply grows. You are not separate from the creative force that shapes worlds and moves mountains. You are that force individualized, that power personified. Every master who walked before you knew this truth. The kingdom is within. Walk forward now in quiet confidence, knowing that your every thought is already creating, your every feeling is already attracting, your every belief is already manifesting. You are the magnetic mind incarnate. The universe has already said yes to your deepest vision. It said yes the moment you dared to believe. Keep walking, keep seeing, keep becoming. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.